reach from Dr. Ken Sherb, who's the head of evangelism for the Central Illinois District. So we spent each week we would watch the video, and the next week then you would practice it. Watch the video, so it had been four, not videos, but audios, but four audio sessions and 4 practice sessions. And we did how to get a religious Christian conversation started. And we looked at how to listen to someone and understand where they are in their religious life. And then we looked at a short statement of the gospel, how to try to introduce the gospel. And then last week we heard the audio on defending the resurrection. So today you're going to practice talking about the resurrection a little bit. So I'm going to, in a few minutes here, divide you up into pairs, but not with your spouse, okay? You'll be with anyone else, but not your spouse. And if you want to use the paper, that is okay. It's designed to help you just get used to it. Find a tool that you're comfortable with and get used to using it. But this is a little harder for the person who is not the active learner in this scenario. So you're going to split up into pairs, and then I'm going to later have you switch. But when you start out, one person who is the active learner will be sharing about the resurrection. Why you feel the resurrection is something that we can depend upon and rely upon as a historical source. So that makes it a little harder this time compared to the previous 3 times we've done exercises for the one who's not the learner in this scenario. So what I want you to do, if you're not the one sharing about the resurrection, assume that you've been conversing for 5 minutes already. Assume that you have already shared with the person that you're maybe a nominal Christian. You kind of go to church once in a while, but you're not sure if it's true or not, or what. You don't want to be overboard or too fanatical. And the person has already shared with you a brief summary of the gospel, that Jesus died for our sins. And so the way you start the conversation today is by telling the person that I don't know how much of that I believe. You know, I'm glad if it works for some people, but I don't think it's anything that's going to govern or control my life. Why should it? Something along those lines. Or be creative. Here's your chance to try to win an Oscar, right? Be a little inventive, however you want to do it. But what you're doing is you're expressing your doubt about whether this stuff is real. Maybe you want to state it, as though it's just something that you believe, and I'm glad that's what you think, but every person has to believe whatever they want. And the point is, for the learner who's trying this, is to say, no, it's grounded in the truth. So when you've kind of had that entree, like, I don't believe this, or I think, everybody just kind of has to follow what they think, who really knows what's true. That's your chance to share with them. Well, may I tell you a little bit about what I think is such a powerful fact that we can't just ignore it or treat it like every person can deal with it the way they want to. And that is the fact that the tomb of Christ was empty. And then you can share a little about the resurrection. You can use your paper or what you remember from the audio, however you want to do it. Okay? Does everybody know what I'm asking you to do?
Well, kind of, sort of.
Kind of, sort of. This one is more challenging than the previous 3 that we've done. That's for sure. All right, so I'm going to have you split up into your pairs. Like I said, not with your spouse, somebody else.
We're not spouses.
And we'll go for about 7 minutes or so, and then I'm going to interrupt you and have you switch. All right?
I don't know everything.
Okay, sorry to close off the conversations here prematurely, but I'll ask you to come gather back together again for our last 2 or 3 minutes. And you don't all have to share, but is there anybody who feels like their conversation went very naturally, like it went really, really well? Did that happen for anybody?
Yeah.
Yes, okay, I heard some yeses. Good, okay, yeah, now then my next question, yeah, did anybody that this was awkward or tough? Yeah. Some for those too, yeah. Partly because, you're acting, and partly because we're not familiar with it, the material. That would have made the series better, I think, if Dr. Sherb had practiced some of these conversations for us, if we had actually heard him do it. I think that would have improved the series. But when we're trying to point out to someone the veracity of the resurrection, what are we trying to do? Well, first of all, that is biblical, right? Remember, Paul in 1 Corinthians 15 is talking about the resurrection to the Corinthians, and he says, what I told you is the things that are most important, that Christ died for our sins, and that he rose again, and that after he rose, he was seen by the brethren, and he gives a list of all the people that saw Jesus, and he gets to, and he says, including there were 500 people. 500 people saw Jesus after he rose from the dead. What's the point of Paul telling them that? Isn't it?
500 cases.
Yeah, if you don't believe me, ask one of them. They saw it. How much proof and evidence do we need? Well, the idea there is that there is proof and evidence of the resurrection of Christ. But here's what you find. Did you experience this when you were playing the agnostic? The person was going through the reasons why the resurrection is a dependable historical fact. Did you find yourself kind of saying, oh, so what? Right? Because we don't, unfortunately, it's our human nature, we don't make decisions based upon the evidence. We really don't. I could give examples, but we're out of time. So although it's a biblical thing to point out that the resurrection of Jesus is a historical fact, what are we trying to do? Get them to say, okay, I guess I was wrong. Christianity really is true, and I'm going to start coming to church with you. That's not going to happen, right? But what it does is it lowers people's defenses a little bit if they're willing. Some people, no matter what you say, the defenses are always going to be there. But if they're willing, it lowers the defenses so they start to hear the other things that you've shared about Jesus and opening up to your life. We're a minute late, but I'll give you one illustration by one of my old professors. I never forgot this. I thought it was so good. Can I share this with you? Just take a minute. He says, imagine that you are in a building, let's say it's a 10-story building, and it's on fire, and the building is engulfed in smoke, and the smoke is so thick that you literally cannot see, and you can't go lower to the lower floors because that's where the flames are. So you go up, you feel your way up the staircase until you get to the roof, and you climb out and you're on the roof of the building. There's another 10-story building right alongside it, 6 feet away. Can you jump from the... Oh. 3 feet for you, Gail. It's 3 feet away for Gail. Can you make that little jump even though you can't see? It's dark because of the smoke. You can't see it, but you can jump to the roof of that other building and then safely go down those stairs and be rescued. Could you make that jump? Of course you can. But wouldn't you like to know which way is north, south, east, and west before you jump, right? So you still, a person to become a Christian, they still are making that jump. There's a point where they're still going, all right, I'm going to just have to trust in this Jesus. I'm willing to do it. And you're kind of letting yourself go into his arms. But something like this helps orient you north, south, east, and west. It helps you be reassured that this Jesus in whom you're trusting is the true Son of God who was raised from the dead. That of all the options that are out there and the millions of religions and philosophies, this one has substantive, historical, factual basis undergirding it. That's kind of the purpose of this. All right, this has been strange. These last 8 weeks have been a little different than what we're used to. I think some of you like it because you don't have to listen to me. You can talk. Next week we're going back to traditional Bible study. We're going to go through the book of Ephesians. So we'll take some time. I'm planning to take the whole summer going through Ephesians. So we're going to dig in, just a few verses each time, really going into it. So I hope you'll be able to join us for that. And I hope you found this useful too, just in collecting some tools for sharing your faith with people. Thank you very much. And by the grace of God, we'll see you next week.
Thank you.